programming made possible by
Louisville MSD. Louisville MSD's vision is achieving safe, clean waterways through exceptional wastewater, drainage, and flood protection services for our community. Visit bardstown.com. There's something beautiful about a small town.
Did you know Kentucky has more navigable miles of water than any other state in the U.S. except Alaska?
Is Alaska still a state?
Includes 90,000 miles of streams and dozens of rivers.
It's also quite famous for some other liquids, those which flow from a barrel, that being beers, bourbons, and wine.
Many of the world's best known distilleries can be found right here in the Bluegrass State, and interestingly enough, pretty darn close to many of our lakes, rivers, and streams.
We're here to take you on an expedition of the secrets and histories of our intricate waterways while visiting Kentucky's distilleries, breweries, and wineries.
I'm Carrie.
And I'm Kyle. And we're two Kentuckians who are pretty proud of our state and want to share a sip of what the Commonwealth has to offer.
What's up, Carrie?
Not much. How you doing today?
Oh, not too shabby. This is quite the place you got picked out here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This is what's left of the Falls of the Ohio.
All right, well, it looks very active out there. Why aren't you in your little yellow boat paddling around filming things?
Well, the water's a little rough today, so I think I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to head up to the Visitor Center and learn a little bit about the history first.
Sounds good. While you're doing that, I believe I'll be going somewhere and learning a little bit about pure tap water.
That sounds great.
And drinking water.
A little bit of a change for you, Kyle.
Yeah, I guess it's healthy.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go to the community boathouse in Louisville and catch up with some really cool paddlers there.
All right, well, you've got a good day planned. I've got a day planned. But let's do this. I think there's a beer festival downtown Louisville.
Really?
Why don't we check that out, grab a beer, wrap up the show?
That sounds great, Kyle. Don't drink too much tap water.
Yeah, I won't.
Have fun.
See ya.
I'm here with Dale, and we're at the Falls of the Ohio River. Dale, what do we see behind us?
Well, what we have is the city of Louisville, but
Okay.
most prominently we see the Ohio River flowing through the states, between the states of Indiana and Kentucky. What we call the falls is a series of rapids over 2.5 miles long, where the water drops approximately 26 to 32 feet. But why it's significant is the falls, when they were here, and these rapids are the only obstruction along the entire 981 miles of the Ohio River. So when the shipping would come down from upriver, they would have to portage, they'd have to unload their cargo above the falls, walk it 2.5 miles downriver, and then load another ship on the opposite side of the river, and then vice versa. So that's why the city of Louisville, Kentucky is here. People would have to have a place to stay, eat, store their goods, fix their boats.
What's under all that water?
Underneath the water is the largest exposed Devonian fossil beds in the Western Hemisphere, and also over 260 varieties of ocean sea creature fossils, more than any other single location on Earth. So the dam you're seeing back there is 37.5 feet tall, almost 4 stories. It doesn't usually look like that when you're standing on our bank, but when you see a fisherman standing next to it, you can get an idea for the scale.
Well, I understand a lot of people rely on this water as a source of drinking water.
You don't drink the water straight, but once it's filtered and clean, people do drink the water.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Well, Kelly.
Kyle.
From what I understand, we're going to talk about water right now.
We are.
Not bourbon, not beers, not wine, but water, which is important.
Which I would like to think is our best liquid asset. Because Louisville Water has been making water right here since 1860.
Wow,
a long time.
1860. You people didn't just kind of wait for it to rain and grab whatever was out there?
Well, they did until that point. They didn't. It actually took a long time to get it because before you had Louisville water, you just sunk a well and it was free, magically appeared. When we started pulling water from the Ohio River, we gave people a product that wasn't entirely perfectly clean, but it was certainly better than what they were getting from the well. And when you think about it, it's amazing that we did it at a place that looks like this. This does not look like a water utility.
True, there is some giant object behind us. It looks relatively old.
It is.
And significant. What is this behind us?
Sure, so this is the historic Louisville Water Tower. It's the oldest standing water tower of its kind in the United States. And the water tower and the building behind it have been here since 1860. We started with a pump station, a water tower, and a reservoir to deliver water. Today, these are National Historic Landmarks, and so they're really important to the city's history.
This is pretty different.
It is.
Now, we've seen those water towers, Florence Y'all, and those things, and they
There's
look
no logo
pretty much.
on this one.
Totally different style than what this thing is.
So this is not a traditional water tower. It doesn't hold water. Inside the tower is actually a pipe. And the only purpose for this tower was to make sure the steam engines that were inside the white building didn't implode as we were pulling water from the Ohio River. So it didn't store water. It was really a surge protector more than anything else. So the original water tower had statues on it. There was a tornado that came through here in 1890, snapped the water tower at the base. Everything was snapped it at the base. Pictures are pretty cool.
That is a big tornado.
That is a big tornado. Yeah. We lost all of the original statues except for two. We don't know what happened to those two. They're probably in someone's basement, I would guess. Sure. So we replaced the statues that you see today with 9 Greek and Roman gods and goddesses and an Indian hunter and a dog. The old annual reports tried to paint a very glowing picture of why we chose the Indian hunter and a dog. In essence, it's always a connection. Somebody knows somebody who has a connection. The water company didn't have a lot of money in 1890 after the tornado, so somebody knew someone with a garden ornamental company and said, hey, I've got 9 Greek and Roman gods and goddesses, an Indian hunter and his dog statues. I'll give them to you for $1,000, throw them on the water tower, and we said, hey, that's a great deal.
Wow, okay, so what is this?
Looks a little different, doesn't it?
This is totally different. I mean, I was not expecting this.
So in 1860, this is where the boilers were as part of our original operations. You had steam engines and boilers, and now it's the Waterworks Museum. So we're telling the story of Louisville's drinking water, but it's really a story of the city's history.
There's we had a fire bucket.
So this is what you used before you had the Louisville Fire Department and before you had Louisville Water to fight a fire. There was actually a law on the books in Louisville that said if you made more than $40 in a year, 2 of these buckets had to be filled with water at all times for a bucket brigade. Charles Hermany, who was one of our first chief engineers, this is his handwritten diary of what it costs to build the Louisville Waterworks. So in 1860, $829,000 to build this pump station, the water tower, and an original reservoir.
Holy cow.
And it's down to the penny, 81 cents.
And 81 cents. You probably can't buy a house in Louisville for that much in some places, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in 1860, if Kyle, you wanted water from the Louisville Water Company, we would come to your beautiful log cabin. We would look at you and say, tell us about your cabin. Do you want a faucet? Do you have a cow? Because that's going to be an extra $1.
Sure, yeah, and you need to have a cow.
Yeah, and do you have a horse-drawn carriage?
I'm looking at one.
Well, I'm going to have to charge you an extra $1 for that.
I may skip it then.
So the assessor would look at you and he would say, Kyle, you owe me $6 a year for water. We actually had a tariff. This is a copy of the tariff, so this is how we charged you. There you can see a cow is $1. But one of our most popular customers in the 1800s were street sprinklers. And because we're such an old water system, going back to 1860, we have a lot of old pipes in the ground. So the pipe that you see behind me is one of our original 1860 cast iron water mains.
Holy cow.
Gigantic, isn't it?
That's a big pipe.
That's a big pipe.
The race for pure water. What was the race? Races I think of the Derby when I think of Louisville.
Well, it really was a race. When we started in 1860, all we did was take the mud out, send it to your house. You had to let the cup sit. So the mud went to the bottom and you drank it really, really fast. So a few years after we started, suddenly we had microscopes, we had the germ theory, and a man named George Warren Fuller said, hey, I think maybe we need filters to give us pure water. So right here in the late 1800s, Louisville Water did a set of experiments that led to modern day water treatment that used filters. So we found that if we could filter that Ohio River water, we could actually take out 99% of the bacteria, all of the mud. A few years later, we start to add chlorine, and suddenly Louisville has a very pure supply of water.
So Kelly, you know, I noticed in these old pictures a lot of really cool hats that people wore back then. That's something to.
You were hip before you knew it?
I like it. I'm really digging the hats. Okay, so Kelly, we're inching closer and closer to the Ohio River.
We are.
So I'm looking, I don't see any pumps. Where's this pump thing that you're talking about?
Well, you're actually standing on one. Yeah, this is a pump.
This is the pump?
Well, the pump that we used to use at Louisville Water, you have pumps here that are pushing water from the Ohio River. Those are electric. But this is a steam engine pump.
There are 3 levels here.
3 levels. When this particular pumping station opened in 1917, you had this steam engine and another one in this building pushing water that was coming from the Ohio River.
Wow.
Yeah, you need the power of a pump to push the water from the pumping station to the reservoir.
We're pulling in from the Ohio, which is behind us. Can we go check out where that's
I'm going to finally let you see the source for Louisville's drinking water. How about that?
Well, I'm holding on for dear life because I'm about 45 feet above the Ohio River, right next to our intake tower where Louisville Water is pulling in about 100 to 110 million gallons of water a day. So I think we're about, 5 miles upstream from the city of Louisville, and that's why this site was chosen, because we are upstream, versus downstream and pulling in the pollution from the city. During the 37 flood, like 2/3 of the city was flooded. It was a lot of the West End and a lot of the downtown area was flooded. And the people who were there had to evacuate their houses and move into the highlands. Back in 37, they were given the abandoned pumping station because with no electricity, no steam, there was no way to pump water, and the water was just about at the floor level of the pumping station, and it was still rising. Louisville had about 6 to 10 days worth of water left in the reservoir, and we went on a 2-hour-a-day rationing of water. And then L.S. Vance, our chief engineer, came up with the idea of using a steamboat to work one of the steam pumps. They gathered the men at the Crescent Hill Reservoir, got down through the flooded streets of the city of Louisville, got a steamboat, the CC Slider, and a barge full of coal. They steamed up the flooded Ohio River, docked outside pump station number 2, made the steam connection between the steam boiler of the steamboat to one of our steam pumps, and by 7 o'clock that night, we were able to get water into the Crescent Hill Reservoir, preventing Louisville from running out of water.
I'm here with Kate Merchant. Kate, where are we?
We're at the River Park Marina here on the riverfront in Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, tell me, what are you guys doing today?
We are getting ready to go out on our dragon boat and practice dragon boat paddling.
What goes into dragon boat paddling?
Well, time, effort, synchronicity with this bunch of great folks, and it's just a really great adventure for folks that are, our boat is actually breast cancer survivors, so it's a way for us to get physical and be together and be out on this wonderful river on a beautiful day like today.
So tell me a little bit about dragon boating.
Well, it's an ancient Chinese art that originated in the 5th century.
So tell me a little bit about why you ladies enjoy doing this, why you've come together as a breast cancer survivor group to do this.
Well, it's kind of a multifaceted reason, actually. First of, it's the physicality of it. A lot of folks get a lot of great exercise and enjoy just being out on the water and involved in the sport. But there's been extensive research. Some Canadian doctors have correlated the recovery from breast cancer with emotions that are involved in dragon boat paddling. It's a really great recuperative sport. Plus, it's just a really great time to get out here with folks that you have things in common with and be involved in a physical activity and teamwork and camaraderie and just and spirit building as much as anything. It's a great way to overcome some of the things that we faced as breast cancer patients. We're all survivors, you know, one way or another. We're all surviving this, and we're working together to support each other. Everybody's at various levels of recovery in their adventure with cancer, and this is just a great group to be part of, and the support and love and all the things that we share together. There's no better place in the world to be on a Saturday morning than this boat with this bunch of women.
Here I am standing over water yet again.
This is not quite your drinking water just yet. This is the Crescent Hill Reservoir, step 2 in making Louisville pure tap. So this water, 110 million gallons of water, just came from the Ohio River at our Zorn Avenue pumping station where we were earlier. So it's just gonna hang out, the water's gonna sit, mud's gonna go to the bottom, and then we really start the good stuff, which is all the things the scientists do to make this into drinking water.
We got a pretty neat looking building there.
Yeah.
What is this and why is it here on this reservoir?
So this is the gatehouse. It's part of the Crescent Hill Reservoir, and it's been here since 1878. You know, Louisville Water has always acted like more than a water utility. We really want to be part of the community, and our structures are very grand, especially from the early days. This was used in 1878. The valves controlled the flow of water coming in and out of the reservoir. So we no longer use the gatehouse every day. The valves still work. We can still control the flow of water.
Wow.
It'll take about 2.5, 3 days to make your drinking water once we start at Zorn Avenue, and we're about halfway there at this point. It does take time. There's a lot of engineering to what we do, and there's certainly a lot of science.
Science?
Yeah.
Should we go check out that science?
Well, all the really cool science happens in the lab, which coincidentally, we happen to be very close, and there's water there too.
You all know how much I like labs. Let's check it out.
All right, let's go.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Kyle, what are you doing there?
A little bit thirsty. I'm at a water place. I thought, why not have a glass? I'm not gonna lie. This whole pure stuff that Kelly's been telling me about, I'm not sure.
No. That finished product is right down here. That's what we start with. There's a whole process to go through before we get to the clean stuff.
Looks a little healthier down there, yeah.
So what you started off here is our source water. That would be the Ohio River, so you definitely do not want to be consuming that. Next process we go through is a little bit of sedimentation, where we just have the reservoir across the street do its thing naturally, letting sediment settle to the bottom of it. Step after that is very important. This is where we add chlorine to the water, where we eventually, at this point here, add ammonia to it. Another point we have is softening. This is where we adjust the pH. We're adding lime to it at this point. So if you're at your kitchen tap or your bathroom tap, and sometimes you see some white, crusty material on the outside of it, that's actually calcium. And we're adding that to the water intentionally so that it coats the inside of the pipe.
Wow, well, that's a lot of steps.
That's a few of the steps. I didn't go into everything, but...
Would you say this makes it pure?
Yes, pure tap.
Pure tap. So this looks very science-y. What do we got going on in here?
This is our heavy metals laboratory. So, not that kind of heavy metals. We've talked about things that you can maybe see in the water, things in higher concentration. The ones that you can't see in the water necessarily, that's what this laboratory is for. That's what this instrumentation does. We have one best tasting water, and we really strive here at Louisville Water to not just make sure that the water quality meets all regulatory guidelines, but that it also meets and exceeds aesthetic guidelines. So that includes taste and how it smells and how it feels, and all of those characteristics really come into play into collectively making an excellent product.
Okay, let's go. You know what I'm talking about though is, bourbon.
Oh.
Come on, you guys are making that, right? I mean, that's coming from the water, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Finally, we've come to the good stuff.
Kyle, hi.
Kevin.
Welcome to the Bullet Experience at Stitzel-Weller.
This is fantastic.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome. A little bit about Stitzel-Weller. It's the home for Bullet Bourbon. So we've got 4 marks here that we celebrate here on site. Our Bullet Orange Labeled Bourbon, our Bullet Rye Whiskey, our Bullet 10-Year Bourbon, and our Bullet Barrel Strength.
The family.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stitzel-Weller, a little history on Stitzel. It opened up, its doors opened in 1935. And it was an operational distillery up until the early 90s. It was the home to a lot of iconic brands in the industry. So step on in here. This is, we talk a lot about bourbon, but one thing we like to talk about here specifically is kind of Louisville's rich bourbon heritage. So the land here has always been rich and fertile here in Kentucky, which makes it eligible for our grains to grow, so our corn and our rye specifically. Topography, if you will. There's a lot of limestone in the ground, and water has always been a key part of why a lot of your bourbon's made here. But one thing we're proud to showcase here specifically is Louisville water. So we've actually partnered with the Louisville Water Company here to showcase some of the country's best tasting tap water. So if you want to talk water quality, I've actually got a friend inside here that could probably share a little bit more information than I could. So
is there any bourbon in there?
There might be. So
I think we should go check it out. Kevin, I appreciate it,
yeah,
man.
Thanks so much.
Beautiful place.
Cheers.
Thank you. So we're here in a very nice looking, I don't know a parlor maybe? A parlor. I'd say it's a parlor. Yeah, it's a parlor with Chris Bobay with Louisville Water, who is a scientist who knows things about how this right here works so well to make this. What is the chemistry? What makes that happen?
So we're really fortunate in this area of the world that we have rich limestone geology. And the water here in Kentucky and Louisville especially, our source is the Ohio River. It's very rich in calcium, and that means that the water's it's not too hard, but it's not too soft. So when people talk about the aesthetics of drinking water, certainly the water needs to be clear, taste good, and it needs to not have an odor. And what makes water taste good for most people is the minerals from the geology. And that's a natural process. And so we're gifted in that way in this area of the world to have a lot of calcium in the water, especially when you get into products like bourbon and even breweries that are making beer. Having good quality water coming into their processes is important.
I heard we're doing a story on water. I was like, water, not this. So I wasn't super excited, but I gotta be honest, this was amazing. I mean, to learn the steps of what it takes to make water this good, and then how you can turn it into this stuff. Well, you know what, Chris, I appreciate everything you guys have done today. And I think let's just finish off. I'll give you that one. Yeah. You finally made it. I mean, seriously, I've been waiting here and waiting and waiting and waiting. There's a beer fest. Can we get off and go see the beer?
All right. I am thirsty, Kyle.
Yeah, I think Louisville Water's got some Pure Tap up there, but I need to get a beer. I've been waiting, and it's time to go.
All right.
Let's go. Put your oar down for crying out loud.
Ready?
Vamonos. All right, so Derek, we're at a pretty cool festival here.
Thank you, sir.
That, from what I know, you had a little something to do with.
A little bit of work, just a tiny bit.
What exactly is going on here today?
Well, today is the Kentucky Craft Bash. So this is the festival that's by the brewers and it's for the brewers. So everybody here, it's Kentucky exclusive. Everybody brought a flagship beer and a taproom only beer. So something that would never ever be served outside their tap room. What we want to be able to give people is the experience of Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Paducah to Pikeville, all the way up to Northern Kentucky, Louisville, Lexington, we've got you covered.
How many you got here today?
We got 31 breweries today. We're pouring 80 different types of beer.
Wow. How many breweries, Derek, are in Louisville itself right now?
We've got 14 breweries that in the city itself right now.
Wow. And what we're talking about here is these are starting to pop up all over Kentucky.
Yeah, so in 2009, we only had 5 breweries in the entire state. We've got 51 active licenses right now today.
That's unbelievable.
It's a
That's
good
8 years.
It's a good
Not
day.
even 8 years.
I know. Part of the experience that we want to give people is it's not just the liquid, right? It is an overall experience of what is unique about this. What is going on with this brewery and what really makes them tick. And that's one of the reasons we threw this festival too, is we wanted to show off the diverse range of personalities that we have. There's a problem. There is a problem. Look at your hands. They are empty.
Right.
They are empty, my friend.
I've been drinking water all day. Pure tap water, but it's time for a beer.
It's time for a beer, my friend.
Let's go get one.
Let's go get a beer.
All right, and what is Schnitzelburg, Louisville?
It's a neighborhood in Louisville, Kentucky. It's right next to Germantown.
So is your beer German inspired?
Some of it is German, but we do kind of the gamut. As far as settings go, this is one of the best settings I've ever seen for a beer fest.
Yeah.
Just having shade, tables, places for people to hang out and sit, and then the ability to come up and have your beers. It's awesome, chill space.
All right, I'm here with Wade and Ken, if that's really their names.
We interchange them.
Yeah, I think they were swapping shirts.
Yeah.
Old Louisville, they're from Old Louisville Brewery.
It's an amazingly collaborative effort across the board.
We talked with Derek and I said, this is a family, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's a family, and I think that's fun. And you guys are having fun, right?
Oh, it's awesome, man. So we're a new brewery here in Louisville. We opened on December 9th of last year, so we're only about 6 months old.
That's awesome. So what's in the name, Mile Wide?
So the name came from just west of downtown Louisville. The Ohio River is a mile wide.
Wow.
Yeah, so where the locks, kind of the north shore of the Ohio, where the falls of the Ohio is, the shore kind of goes up, and it's a mile wide. It's the widest point of the Ohio River.
Nathan, what's up with Goodwood? What's the story here?
So Goodwood is primarily beer that is touched by wood, and we use limestone water. We want to really, focus in on the barrels that give a lot of qualities to this beer. Brandy barrels, bourbon barrels, even red wine stays on. Give it a little wood touch, keep it true to Kentucky, but still keep it a really nice, clean, crisp beer.
Kyle, you look awfully worn out. I'm the one who had to paddle here.
Well, I mean, whatever, It's a beautiful day. Do you know how many breweries there are in Louisville?
No.
14.
14.
14 in Louisville, 2 more coming.
Well, it'll take you 2 weeks to make your way around those, Kyle.
It only took me 2 hours today. And on that note, until next time,
we'll see you downstream.